Create emotes just became insanely accessible, and you can now make yourself some in 5 minutes. No AI involved. It's all thanks to Emote Lab. It's a new application dedicated to customizing a chibi that you can then use to export any number of pre-made animated emotes. It's basically like a Picrew, but the animated version, and it's been released on Steam for the incredible price of $8.99. So let's take a look at some of the features and customization options. When you first open the application up, you can click the coffee bean default assets and select from a pre-made character as a starting point to immediately get started customizing on the right side. Otherwise, you can clear the character to start a fresh design. Under the animation section, you can pick an emote and it immediately shows the animation rig for it. There's tons of different options, and they're all listed online in the documentation if you want to know what you're getting when you buy this app. The viewport is adjustable using the mouse wheel to scroll and Alt button to rotate. You can move the viewport around by holding down your middle mouse button and dragging. If you hover in the top left, there's also some additional options like the viewport reset, as well as a manual zoom in and zoom out. As far as customization goes, you can cycle through all of the part options here and search to find parts as well. The parts that have a grid pattern are for adding custom parts, so anything within the bounds of this box should work for any new items that you want to add in, so long as you're able to draw it and export it back into a PNG. I'll talk more about retexturing in a little bit. On the right hand side, you can also adjust certain parameters for the model's parts, and to do so, you'll just check the associated box and then use the slider to adjust it. Up in the top, there's a color tab that you can go to adjust the color for each part. There's multiple color modes as well. There's a tint option which just recolors everything, and then there's also a 2-color option for parts that have multiple colors, like the eyelashes and some of the hair components. You can also copy colors from one part to another by clicking and dragging the adjusted one onto the other. When you're done, you can just save the character with this button down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and make myself real quick and put a time lapse of it. And that's probably close to what I want, so I'll go ahead and save it now. You probably noticed during the time-lapse that my model is a decent example of what can and can't be done. My hair doesn't have a middle bang, and so I'm forced to expose the hairline. And there aren't really headphones for my model, so I'm using the mecha antenna to compensate for that. And I think this still looks great and serves its purpose, which is just to be as close as possible to my model so that I can have some emotes. And I think most people will be able to get some mildly accurate representation of their model, unless of course you have an anthropomorphic model or an alternative kind of model like a slime or a skeleton. In terms of getting a vaguely accurate VTuber model, I would say it's in a pretty good place right now. Skin tones are completely customizable, and despite there being no palm color option, the chibis don't really show their palms, so hopefully that won't be an issue if you have a deeper skin tone. However, when it comes to hair, well, there don't really seem to be any options at all for anything beyond just wavy hair. There's pretty much no curly hair options or type 4C hair options, and absolutely nothing as far as dreads, twists, and braids go. This is my desperate attempt trying to make Senti, and I think it's safe to say it's pretty close to impossible with the default settings. Despite this, you're not completely out of luck if you use the custom grid textures that I mentioned earlier. I tried it out by swapping out one of the back hair textures with something that I quickly sketched, and it seems to be working well. Just because that's an option doesn't mean it's not still upsetting that it's unavailable in the base app, so I hope to see that included in future updates. But let's talk about additional customization, including how you can actually do the retexture thing that I just talked about. If you're thinking about doing that, you'll check this box to turn the option on and open the textures folder, and take the PNG that's associated with the part you want to replace and drag it into an editing software of choice. For this example, I'm just going to be adjusting the shirt so it matches my model better. So let's first find the texture that has the shirt texture, and that's this one here. I'll add it into Clip Studio Paint, add a clipping mask, make a symmetry ruler, and start painting over it. And when I'm done, I can export this in the same dimensions back into the original folder and make sure that the transparency is set on. And then you can just hit the reload textures option. After you do this, either save the character or make sure that you back up that PNG of the new texture, because if you don't, it'll just overwrite the textures with the default textures later on. If you make any new adjustments to the character, like that new texture thing, or if you just want to swap a part out real quick, you can hit the save button and overwrite the existing character model. There's also the option to delete models as well. For each animation, there might be additional assets that can be customized too. For example, in the sleeping emote, the phone has a color parameter, or in the drink animation, the liquid color and cup color can be adjusted. When you're done with customization, you'll of course course, want to export the emote. And it's a single button press, which makes things very easy. By default, it's set to export at 112 by 112 pixels at 16 FPS, which is perfect for use cases like Twitch. However, you can also open the settings and adjust your export needs here. Oh, and the viewport does affect the export as well, so if you want something framed really small or really zoomed in, you can do that before exporting and it will be reflected in the result. If you want a static emote, you can also export as a larger GIF size to help avoid a ton of quality loss, and then open the GIF file in something like Photoshop and extract the frame that you want to use for a static emote. So lastly, what do you do with these? Well, you can pull up the license to make sure that your use case is okay. This is everything you can and can't use the emotes for. Oh, and there's a nice little AI clause. Love to see that. Most of us will be using these for Discord, GIPHY, or most commonly Twitch emotes. If you want to use them on Twitch, you do need to be an affiliate, but you'll just go to your creator dashboard, viewer rewards, emotes, and add them in there. And if you aren't an affiliate, you can use something like 𝗦𝘂𝗽𝙁 or BetterTTV, which are websites that'll host your emotes without you needing any credentials. To upload them to GIPHY, you'll also have to create an account and click the create button. And then you can select upload and upload as a GIF or a sticker here. Just note that they will not show up in the GIPHY search unless you are verified on GIPHY, which is a whole separate topic I'll talk about some other time. And lastly, for Discord uploads, you can go to your server, go to the server settings, and upload the emotes under the emoji section. So now it's time for some final thoughts. First of all, I think the software is great and is definitely a game changer for the emote market. I get a lot of fearful comments about people thinking this will disrupt the emote ecosystem, but I don't think it will be doing damage in the same way that customizable models likely don't deter people from wanting and eventually commissioning a custom model. The way that I see it is a person just starting out VTubing might have a limited budget, say $100 or $200, and the bulk of that expense is going to go towards a model, peripherals, and maybe some stream assets like overlays or something. Emotes can't even be used on Twitch when you start, so it's pretty unlikely that a beginner would just purchase emotes outright, let alone animated emotes anyway, because those are very expensive due to the amount of work that's involved in making them. Instead, they can opt to set aside only a $9 fee to get themselves some emotes. So I think of it more like a person who otherwise would not spend money on emotes can now get them, instead of thinking of it like a potential custom emote customer is being taken away in order to purchase this software. And like I said after customizing my own character, this is simply not a replacement for custom emotes. There's no way the developer could add an infinite number of customization options to keep this versatile enough to uproot the entire emote economy. There will always be a need for custom art and custom emotes. And speaking of custom emotes, the documentation suggests the ability to import additional models. Potentially, you already can import them. I just don't have a way to test this because I don't know Spine and I also don't own it. But given the creator is okay with it, there might be opportunities for sellers and artists to actually make money from creating new models or packs to import into Emote Lab, which I think is really cool. I'm super excited to see where this software heads, and I hope it provides an easier start for more VTubers. So let me know in the comments what you think of Emote Lab and if you picked it up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!